Oh, look at this. Jackpot. This is the spot where Colonel Sherman Stevens built his sawmill, whose coal was used to refine the ore from the Cerro Gordo mines right out there.
The Cerro Gordo mines lie approximately 40 miles due east and would require a 7,000-foot journey down the mountain, crossing Owens Lake by steamship, and then another 8 miles up the yellow-grade Cerro Gordo Road.
And so we're gonna head down, there's a little trail here, and see if we can find any of the remnants of that original sawmill. We do have some ruins here. So could these be from Colonel Sherman Stevens' sawmill? They do look like they have been scorched and weathered over time.
By the 1870s, Cerro Gordo was one of the richest silver mines in California, but fueling the smelters took more wood than the nearby hills could provide. That's when Sherman Stevens, who owned a claim next to the profitable Union mine, came up with an ingenious solution. In 1872, Stevens built a sawmill high in Cottonwood Canyon and a 13-mile flume to carry lumber down to the stage line bound for Los Angeles. From there, the wood was transported to his wharf at Owens Lake. Stevens also added 2 charcoal kilns to process the timber, which was ferried across the lake by steamboat.
Let's go take a look and see if there's any writing on those to get an idea of whether or not it's possibly part of the historical value of this area. There is other evidence of this area having been used for lumber. You can see, for example, that stump right there. It looks like it's about torso high. Clearly that was cut and sent down into the mill. Here's another piece of the corrugated iron. Again, you can see it's been scorched by fire, which left it vulnerable to the elements.
Stevens used a flume system like this one at the Sugar Pine Mill in Madera, California, that would be filled with water and transport wood down the mountain.
How absolutely fascinating. I bet you at some point Sherman Stevens sat on that rock there, smoking his pipe, maybe drinking his whiskey after a long day of work. I wonder if this erosion here at one point was where they sent the timber down into the mill. Looks like there still might be some remnants of the mill down there. So I gotta show you guys something really, really amazing here. Look at the pile of wood here that's been lined up and sawed in half for processing for the mill. This wood here has been sitting around probably for 120 years.
After a fire in 1877 which destroyed the flume and 64,000 feet of cut logs, the mill ceased production. Are these the remnants of logs that survived the flames?
And when this mill no longer became viable, it was abandoned.
Stevens lost a fortune as a result of the fire. Combined with the declining silver output at Cerro Gordo, the mill became unprofitable. Miners left for other boom towns such as Mammoth City and Bodie.
It's like it's been stuck in time. Let's take a look around here. You have some old wire. This might have been from like bed springs. And if you listen closely, you can hear the creak. Look how weathered this wood is. Whew. This is absolutely incredible. There is so much more to look around. I got something else I want to show you. You're going to be really impressed by. Oh, wow. Look at this old Coors can. Wow. How old is this? A pop top. Oh my God, light beer, spring water. Whew. Historical artifacts. How long has this been sitting amidst this pile of wood? Probably from back in the 1960s, Absolutely cool. Let's put it back where we found it. Some other cans. And I'm gonna show you the biggest can of all down here. Check this out, you guys are gonna love this. Look at this. It's incredible piping. Goes into some kind of bin, some kind of processor, it looks like. Check out how weathered and oxidized this drainage system is here.
According to my sources, Stevens secured a loan from the Owens Lake Silver Lead Company, promising to transport their fuel at a discount to what he was charging the owners of the lucrative Union mine. Working with his sons, he built a trail up this canyon and powered the mill with a steam turbine. Is this that turbine?
Perhaps it was some kind of hydraulic system to pull water from down in the creek up to the mill and process the timber. It's hard not to be really excited to see this stuff. You know, having a goal, having a destination when you're hiking or when you're exploring is just so rewarding. And then actually finding those remnants, it turns an everyday walk into a true adventure. Check out this piece of glass here. This purple glass.
When exposed to sunlight, the manganese added by early glassmakers to neutralize the green tint from iron impurities causes the glass to turn purple.
This is obviously part of a structure, maybe where the timber was, you know, sent downhill. Clearly another structure. You have these beams. You can imagine like some kind of cabin-like structure here. You know, fill it in with your imagination. The mill coming down, the men up in the hills, cutting the wood, sending it down on some kind of a system, water being pumped up from the creek there, the sounds of saws, maybe 15, 20, 30 men working here, coming up from Owens Valley every day, and then heading back down the canyon. Let's go see what's over here. Oh, look at this. Jackpot. Oh, wow. This looks like some kind of fuel can. That's old.
This is a vintage can of Golf Light charcoal starter. Could it be the same one used by those careless campers who burned down Stevens Mill?
Look at this stuff. What could this be? This looks like it would have turned at some point. Maybe this was part of a well system. You know, there's no engravings on this, or if there are, they're so worn out that, you know, it's hard to see if there was like a company that produced this. Oh, but let's go check this out. Incredible. This must have been the cabin site for the Sherman Stevens Mill. Let's go over here and take a look. Wow, totally collapsed. It's interesting because I had read that this mill was destroyed by fire, but if you look at this structure here, it does not appear that that's the reason for its collapse. Maybe parts of the mill were destroyed by fire, but this looks like it survived and was just a victim of time and the elements. You can see how the roof is caved in here. This construction, big bolt. This must have been the beam maybe for the ceiling. You can see inside there is some corrugated metal. Let's go around and get to the other side. I mean, for 140 years ago, I'm not going to say it's held up well, but it's held up well in a sense. I mean, you know, it's still here. Looks like there's some kind of, I don't know if that was some kind of chimney or maybe some kind of fire pit. Looks like one of those kind of fire pits like you'd see at a campground. Let's get a look inside here. Oh, it's a some kind of barrel, some kind of water tank maybe. Look at this corner notch construction. I really love seeing these types of old log cabins or log structures. You know, the ingenuity and hard work that it took for the people who came up here to build this, and the satisfaction they must have gotten once it was done. Must be unparalleled. And then on top of that, of course, you just have the amazing mountain views, the silence, the coolness. Incredible.
When silver was struck at Darwin in 1876 and miners exhausted the supply of wood in the Coso Mountains, Stevens expanded his empire by establishing the Inyo Lumber and Coal Company. He began burning bricks at his cottonwood kiln and transporting them across the lake via a steamboat, later named after his daughter, the Molly Stevens.
Got an old can here. Let's take a look at it. Oh wow, check this out. See what that says, guys? Laura Scudder's. That's a large can of peanut butter. Well, I don't know for sure if Laura Scudder's was always doing peanut butter. Maybe they did something else, but we're gonna have to look that up, find out what this could have been. But that is a real treasure of a find. So you have this drainage here, and there's all sorts of pieces of metal here that I'm not going to try to unearth or anything like that, but that has been kind of embedded into the you know, gravel here, like that one there. It's a pretty heavy piece of steel there. Probably weighs a good 4.5 pounds. Check out this. What in the world? Wow. What could this be? Looks definitely like it's been handmade, hand hammered. You can see the hammer marks, like right there. Oh wow. Check this out. Square nail. Square nails are unique, not only in that they're old, but they were hand honed into this shape. So what it's a treasure from, you know, from a long time ago. Piece of history laying here. Lots more metal pieces here. Look at this big bolt. Looks like it's been broken off. That's heavy, man. That's a heavy bolt. What is this? Some kind of volcanic rock. Oh, looks like it's been melted down. That's weird. It's volcanic, but not quite volcanic. Wow, look at that. Look at that black. Almost like there's coal in there or something. Here, and check out this other part of the mill site. A lot more metal. This piping here, this ducting, whatever this might have been, it's been crushed. This looks like some kind of chimney. This would have been the you know, chimney topper, I guess. Top of a water barrel. And we got an inscription over here. That looks more like graffiti. This right here. I'm gonna have to take a photo of that. That looks definitely more like graffiti. can't tell. It's old, yeah. This area here must have been where the fire was, because a lot more evidence of burning and just a lot more kind of like scattered debris. Old nails, lots of them, but also looks like a pretty modern nail, pretty recent. Piece of wood? No, some kind of synthetic material. There's a hinge on this, some kind of door. Maybe they were firing stuff up here. Here's something even more unique that's not modern. This, my friends, is a piece of obsidian. Now, why is it up here? Well, it's very likely that the native peoples, the Paiute, used this as a trail for summertime travel. To come up here in the summer, they had the village up here around the lakes, and then back in the winter they'd head back down into the valley. But that is a really cool find up here, up in a place that has so many modern artifacts. To find this ancient artifact really shows you the layers and depth of history in this area. A rock shelter. That's a cool rock shelter. Someone definitely was using it at one point. Not sure what to make of all that white there.
Is it possible that this was a temporary shelter used by those same Paiute travelers who left traces of their tool making?
You can see in the back, that looks like there was a fire at some point.
For thousands of years before white settlement, the Owens Valley was home to the Paiute people. When miners, ranchers, and lumbermen arrived in the 1860s and 70s, they seized water, land, disrupting Paiute life. Tensions soon turned violent in what became known as the Owens Valley Indian War. Many Paiute were killed or forcibly removed, though their descendants still live in the valley today, keeping cultural traditions alive.
If you look closely, you can see there's some pretty good sized golden trout. Probably not so easy to see on the GoPro, but that's a pretty good fishing hole right there.
After Stevens' lumber empire collapsed, he left Inyo to find work elsewhere, but eventually returned to Lone Pine, where he died in 1887. Here in Cottonwood Canyon, the echoes of his empire remain. The flume is gone, the kilns are cold, yet the scars of fire and fortune still mark this land. Stand here long enough and you can almost hear the turbines hum, the saws buzz, the dream that once built an empire and then was gone.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.